Thanks, everybody. Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Ricky Camilleri. John Boyega blew us away in both Star Wars, Force Awakens, and The Last Jedi. Now he's back in the sequel to the hit movie Pacific Rim Uprising. Let's take a look at the trailer.
Jake, your father always said he wanted you to be a pilot.
He said a lot of things. I'm not a hero like he was.
The Kaiju. They're gonna come back. I'm not gonna be stuck waiting for someone else to come save my ass.
Cadets, you better gear up.
This is the way the world ends.
How'd they get into our world?
Someone let them in. Someone from our world.
Who is that?
Definitely not one of ours.
Let's do this.
This is your chance to make things right.
We're gonna need more pilots. We have them. There are pilots we remember as legends, but they didn't start out that way. They started out like us. This is our time to make a difference. Do you understand? Jaeger pilots, do you understand?
One way to find out.
That's what I'm talking about! Gonna be a long day.
What do we do?
We fight! Those on top of me.
Everybody, producer and star of Pacific Rim Uprising, John Boyega.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Hey, man.
How you doing?
Congratulations on the film. Welcome back.
Much appreciated.
Let's talk about everything, not everything that happens in the film, but a lot of what happens. But I'm curious, what brought you to become a producer on the movie? How did that happen?
2015, Star Wars: Force Awakens came out.
What's that?
After that, I decided to use the funds that I earned on the movie to develop a team of people and to form a company called Rim Entertainment. And I just wanted to create opportunities for myself.
That's gutsy. That's like a real gutsy thing to do.
Yeah, but you know, I just thought it made sense to do that. You know, I'd watched and read up on so many producers and actors who have gotten themselves into good positions for this type of opportunity, and I wanted to be, you know, one of them too, you know, and do it in my own way. And so Pacific Rim came about, and Mary Parent, who's obviously the president, legendary, was like, oh, your production company, you guys should get involved, and I jumped at the opportunity.
Now, what did your involvement prior to, you know, getting in front of the camera involve? Was there a lot of sort of going over the script, looking for the director as well, and figuring out who your cast would be?
So they already had Steve DeKnight attached when I came on board. So it went on to casting from there. Casting was the first steps, but then there was several rewrites of the script. And then after that, we went into pre-visuals, directing that, and I had to hire a few people that I wanted on the team specifically, and then all the way through to marketing. So you know, I'm still working on this. You know, now every territory is different. Every territory has its own different, unique approach, and so yeah, it's a lot of work, but I love it though. I love it, yeah.
And what was your driving philosophy behind doing a sequel to Pacific Rim? Like, what did you want to see that was going to be different that really made you personally involved?
I mean, there were a few things that, as a fan I wanted to see in this sequel come to light, but fundamentally I just agreed with Steve the Knight's vision, which was much more of an anime-esque movie, which added a tone to it that I found exciting. Listening to him, agreeing with these ideas, I was there to help facilitate and see his dreams come to a reality in this form, and that's what attracted me to it, and also, you know, getting the opportunity to play a character that's related to Idris Elba's character, Jake Pentecost, was like, cool. I'll definitely do that. So I got on board with it.
Whose idea was to sort of cast you alongside Scott Eastwood, which is really funny casting because you're sort of filled with energy and charm, and he is stoic.
Yeah,
the majority of the
but with that being said,
very charming, very charming.
We had to, you know, like Scott had to go there with the stoic. You know, Scott is a very charismatic, charming young man who's very active, goes surfing, does all that kind of stuff. So he had to really, you know, center himself on that one. And I was just on set like, you know, I get to be the fun one. You know, I get to say what I want, do what I want. You know, in the Jake realm of things. But it was a great idea. I mean, myself and Mary Perrin and Kel.
You end up doing a pretty great impression of him in the middle of the movie. What did he end up thinking about that impression?
I don't know. I haven't asked him yet.
Really?
I haven't asked him yet.
Did he know it was in the script, or was that something that was like, Scott's off today, let's go?
That was it. Yeah, Scott wasn't on set that day.
Let's not give Scott the sides today.
Yeah. Let's not give it to him. But I've you know, he watched the film and enjoyed it. But you know, in terms of the casting, that was something that was very, very important, and I think it went well.
Yeah, and you've got this wonderful newcomer in the film as well. This, I mean, really, you have two other parts in the film that are kind of the buddies to you, which is Scott and this young girl who's so fantastic. What's her name again?
Kaylee Spaney. She's a newcomer. Yeah.
Where did you find her?
So we done a whole bunch of auditions, and we got a lot of professional actresses who were fantastic that came in and done their thing. But I don't know. I don't know. I've always said that the reason why I set up a production company was also for my agenda about opportunity, and giving opportunity to those who wouldn't otherwise get it. And when she came into audition, she was so nervous and new and fresh. But once she started reading from the pages, she was a completely different person. And for me, I just was just like, I think you should give it to her. Like, I love her approach to the character. It was much more subtle than the other artists we had come in, and she had a unique approach to the role that I really, really loved, and then the team agreed to.
Now, you sound incredibly passionate about, you know, what's happening behind the scenes on the film as well as in front of the camera for you. Obviously, you have to be as a producer. When you created your production company and got all these people together, and you were just coming off of Star Wars, did you feel like you had to sort of prove to people that you knew your stuff going into this, or were people kind of like, "Well, he's from Star Wars, we're fine"?
I didn't feel like I had to prove anything, because I think that unfortunately in our industry, sometimes actors get these kind of producing opportunities as just a credit, but they're not really, you're not really producing. You don't really have your hands in the work.
You really wanted to produce.
Yeah, I want to do that. So I set up my own. I mean, I'm not going to publicly go out with a company and invest money into a company to not know how to do my job. So I just wanted to make sure that I was on point for it. And I got a lot of help though. You know, while I was filming Pacific Rim, I had a good team of other people around me, and you know, it worked out very, very well.
And now, is Uprising the first film for your company?
Yeah, the first one. And now we've got our second project.
Can I ask what that is?
Yeah, it's a drama TV series set in the early 90s of the UK, and explores the lives of various Black British people in the UK and the culture. And it's written and directed by someone called Sebastian Till, who's an upcoming director from London. His work is very, very dynamic, very cultural, very real. And I'm doing it with Big Talk Productions, who did Attack the Block. And so we're teaming up for that. I'm not going to be in it, which is slightly strange, but it's a great opportunity for us nonetheless.
Is there a part of you that, as an actor, wants to be in projects like that as well, or wants to sort of be able to jump a little bit more from the sort of action sci-fi to drama sometimes?
I mean, yeah. I mean, but it doesn't necessarily kind of like clash with what the company's doing. You know, like as an independent actor, you know, drama is our next genre to really delve into. and that's something that I've always wanted to do. And you know, there are options out there. You know, it's just about timing, schedule, all that nonsense that you guys will be bored about. But you know, it's all.
Unfortunately, they'd be bored, but I'd be really interested.
Oh yeah.
I like the weeds, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So talk to us about your character. I mean, you're Idris Elba's son, and you're a bit reluctant to kind of join the fight in the film.
Yeah, Jake. I love Jake. I really do.
Really
love Jake.
fun character.
Jake is carefree. He's a Jaeger part stealer. He's a rogue, a party head, and he's called upon to come back to the PPDC after making a huge mistake, to kind of redeem himself by leading a new younger generation of Jaeger pilots to their own greatness. And none of these young pilots are actually strong enough for this war they're about to fight. They're all kids. They're not supposed to be in these kind of Jaegers.
It's a bit of a bad news bears type of situation.
Yeah, like it's not. This is not planned. They're not standing there like that because they're heroic. They're not supposed to be there. So it's about these kids having to step up and kind of face an obstacle that's bigger than themselves. And I love that message as well. So.
Yeah, and one of the things that you did, without spoiling anything, is that you gave Charlie Day a big role in this film, which I was so excited to see. I'm such a fan of his. Where did that idea spring from?
Well, for me, since it's a sequel, I wanted characters that represent the connective tissue to the first. I didn't want it, even though our tone is different and, you know, obviously the color is different and our grading, I didn't want it to feel like it's like two separate, complete, different stories. So I wanted characters from the old to come to the new, to help us connect and to also develop their roles. And Charlie Day is a phenomenal actor, great comedic timing, but there was something about him in Pacific Rim that I really, really love and I found charming. It's the same as, obviously, Mako Mori, who I know the fans wouldn't have accepted Uprising without her in it. So that really, really made sense. And, we had fun doing it.
What do you see as the major differences in tone between the first one and Uprising?
I think for me, my approach was like, I loved the kind of punk, dark tone of the first. But also, I understood what a lot of people wanted, more of, which was obviously to expand on the work that multiple Jaegers do at the same time. Jaeger and Jaeger conflict, robots in the daylight, so we can see them. And so those were the little things that I wanted to change and add to it. And I love anime. I'm crazy about anime. I love it so much. Yeah, I love.
What's
anime.
your favorite anime?
I don't have a favorite, but I'm watching Naruto, Attack on Titan, Hunter x Hunter. I'm watching all of them, and I just wanted to add all of that to the fight scenes in this as well.
So when you showed up for the first production meeting, you just handed over like a box of animes and were like,
"Oh, I was like to
do
Kale,
this."
Anime, man, that's where it's at. And I want it to feel different. We have loads of mech movies, we have Transformers, we have Power Rangers, we have all those things. And
I will say what felt. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that feels different, but what really felt different for me about this film compared to those other movies that you're just mentioning right now, not the Transformers and all that, is that the action sequences in this are much easier to understand and they're much more fluid and they feel a lot better choreographed. No offense, Michael Bay. I know
no offense.
I know you watch my show regularly, and I just want you to know, no offense. But this does feel far more. I never at any point was I like, what is going on right now?
I mean, that's what it was like in the visual effects meetings. I mean, we plan these kind of action sequences with toys, or on a table, and we have the city blocks. And I was just like, guys, spread these robots out, please, because I am sick of going to the cinema and going, Mum, which one is that? Which one's that? Which one? I want to know exactly what's going down. And also, the pacing of action sometimes, I like the action to slow down, have a moment for character, have a moment where they need to figure stuff out, make it complicated, and I like the way it turned out.
Well, that's something that you can also learn from J.J. Abrams and Force Awakens, like some phenomenal action set pieces in that movie, but so many of them are really built off of characters that we've been with. So even if you, and I don't think there's any moment where you're confused, but even if you were, you could be like, oh, I'm at least attached to this person at the very least.
Exactly.
Yeah, and all that has to do with the script, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the big major thing. I mean, with the script, we went through it so many times. And I think what's sometimes tricky is that when you have an American writer, it's very hard for American writers to write for British roles. Because a lot of the stuff I wouldn't say, like I wouldn't say something like awesome as a I wouldn't say that. It doesn't even sound right, does it? It doesn't sound right. Like, I wouldn't say that. So if there's a...
Like, all right, governor.
No, I'll be like,
that,
oh, that's all right, innit, man? That's cool, man. You get me? So it's like, it's a different approach. And, you know, it was good collaborating with those guys, messing up the dialogue, make it more suited to our actors. And, you know, I had fun doing it.
That's also how you draw an audience in as well, is by allowing actors to kind of play with their dialogue just a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And I always liked a challenge, you know, certain scenes where we would have to have banter or arguments. I'd want to do a take where let's just forget the script for a bit. We know what the intention is of the scene, and let's just talk. Yeah. And you find that those are the scenes that were used in the film. Yeah.
Absolutely, those are the scenes that also make the action sequences even better.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
There may be things blowing up and things falling apart, but if I'm drawn to these two guys that are inside of it and are actually
exactly.
Emotionally
you know who
connected.
to root for, you know.
Yeah. You know, I'm curious. A couple Star Wars questions. What was it like going from Abrams to Rian Johnson, and two tonally very different films?
Yeah, it was a smooth adjustment. I mean, after reading the script, you pretty much you knew where the story was going. You knew what was going to happen, and then we kind of just went right back into it. But it felt strange in a sense, coming back to I've never had that experience of, you know, being hired for 3 movies. Like, I remember the days where if I can just get one walk-on part, I'm cool, you know.
I'm on this for 3 days? Whoa!
Yeah, like 3 days, that's $300 coming my way. I can use that. But for something like Star Wars, which is so long-term, when you're doing things, having discussions and saying stuff like, oh yeah, so in 2020, I'm like, whoa, this is different. And then working on The Last Jedi, I really felt the time of waiting. I didn't really feel it with Force Awakens, but with Last Jedi, I felt like I waited for that film to come out, and I'm so happy about the finished product.
How old were you when you were cast in Force Awakens?
I was 23.
If I was 23 and someone was talking to me about like 2020 or like 5 years ahead, my life would have been so much different.
Yeah.
I would have been such a more productive person.
But you know what though? It's
a
a double-edged
future.
sword though. It's a double-edged sword because sometimes you find yourself, and you have to like put a track on it. You find yourself thinking about 2020, 2023, and we don't know what's going to happen in life. You got to savor the moment, and so that's another thing that I learned while waiting. And Last Jedi made it a very, very unique experience for me.
So you're only signed on to one more after Jedi?
Yeah, one more.
Do you ever call them and are like, sure, just one more, guys? I mean, I think I could do like 5.
Nah.
You don't mess with the powers that be there.
No. I think they got it all figured out. I just show up. But for me, it's one more, and then I want to get into some real good dramas. That's what I want to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you had a good drama last year, which was pretty an amazing film.
Managed to squeeze that in.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that film was incredible.
Thank you.
What was it like working with Bigelow and doing that? I mean, it was a drama, but I would also say it was a horror movie, really, inside of a drama.
Yeah, it was amazing. I really loved working with Catherine. She really pushed me, and I feel like after I worked on Detroit, I became a better actor.
It's such a tough role to play. I remember seeing that, and it's your character. While a lot of the other characters have kind of, I don't want to say one-dimensional at all, but they have a very clear arc. Yours is always kind of zigzagging on this line, and he's confused the whole time. It's a really juicy part to play, but I also imagine kind of difficult.
Yeah, I mean, but in its difficulty, there was a joy that I felt. I felt like I was working. I felt like I was going to places emotionally that helped benefit the story. And the cameras, like these cameras are so they pick up your eyes. And sometimes when you don't truly believe it, you can tell. And so you really, really did have to feel with Detroit. And I'm glad I got to that space because I'm like, oh, I can go into a little drama stinch now. I can go and explore the dramas. Then maybe after that, rom-com. A very smart one. Switch it up.
I don't think they make rom-coms really anymore, though. But
I know they don't.
You're gonna do it. You're gonna do it. John Boyega saves the rom-com.
Hey, look, man. I just feel like at a stage where there's this new shift in the industry, and there's an opportunity for us to locate a really unique writers and creatives. Like, you don't know what people are gonna think of, and people think of some real dope ideas. Yeah.
This might be a kind of an in the weeds question about acting, but when you're doing something like Last Jedi or Force Awakens or even Pacific Rim Uprising, where so much of your performances also has to be kind of calculated around visual effects, how much time that you have, versus something like Detroit, where she's really shooting like a documentary and sort of letting you figure it out on your feet. What is easier for you as an actor, or what is harder to sort of tap into the emotion for the scene? Having the time, like on Detroit, where she's sort of letting you find it, or just sort of having to go, okay, this is the line and this is what I got to hit for Force Awakens or Uprising?
With any role that I go for, with whoever I work with, I leave a percentage in which the director has control. Your process as a director is what I have to trust in to be able to do a movie together. And so for me, I'm flexible, man. You know, that's how you get their money. You gotta be flexible. So, you know, I you know, if a director feels like, okay, we need the actors to feel it out more, we need them to get into their parts a bit more, we're not going to have marks on the floor, they can flow and go wherever they want, I'll do that.
I guess it's a question of really having like a lot of marks to hit versus...
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, with
having
Star Wars,
fluid.
yeah, I mean, I was Fighting Phasma, looking down like, I got to hit these marks because the camera has to pick it up, and if we go out of focus, I have to fight Phasma again, and I don't enjoy fighting Phasma. So we done that a few times, and I like both of them because it challenges you, makes you a better artist, and you know it's the best way to kind of advance yourself.
Yeah. What's next on your agenda outside of another Star Wars?
Oh, I know, sleep and reading. Yeah, I like sleep. Sleep is so distant to me right now. It's my wife. We're not talking sleep. You know, I'm trying to build up our relationship back again. So, you know, sleep and just rest. I'm going to take the whole year off until, obviously, we start on Star Wars 9.
You're going to take the whole year off?
Yeah, I
Good
think
for
I've done
you.
enough,
That's great.
man. Yeah. I think I'm done. Maybe I'll come back with facial hair or something. You know,
You said
done.
reading. There's nothing like reading for fun when you have vacation time.
I mean, it won't be for fun, for the next
reading
part. You know,
scripts?
I've got to get that 2020. You know, I got to know what's going on. But just to read several
Stack
different
of scripts.
Yeah, like, you know, my company now, we take in so many scripts from all different types of people, and people have ideas, and I choose and read, and so I want time to do that.
Yeah. Let's get some questions from our audience. Who has a question? Right here. Hey.
Hello.
Hi, I saw the movie yesterday, and it was really good, by the way.
Thank you.
Very nice.
You're so cute.
You produced this movie alongside Guillermo del Toro.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering, throughout the process of producing, were you faced with any criticism from anyone?
Not criticism, but we all had healthy disagreements. Like, that's the process of producing. On a film like this, you're given a group of producers. It's not just one, so you're given a couple. And each producer has their department that they run. One producer will be handling finance and budget. The other may be handling schedule. And then the rest may be creative and a bit of others. And sometimes those clash. Sometimes you have an idea and another producer doesn't agree. You have a conversation about it, and you do what's best for the director's idea, you know, fundamentally. And that's what happens. I wanted to see certain things in character. I wanted character to be hashed out a tad bit more. But sometimes there are other things that come into it, like timing, you know, and pace. And so when you consider all things, you kind of get back on the same page. But that's the process, you know, of producing.
Yeah, there's that whole, again, without giving anything away, the sort of intro to the film and intro to your character really whips through everything that is, you know, your backstory. I imagine there were scenes in there that you guys probably shot that elaborated on that a little bit, and then in the editing room they were like, we gotta move along. Which for an actor,
that's how it goes,
as a producer, you're like, great, let's keep the pace. But as an actor, you're like, damn it.
That's the contradiction. As a producer, I was just like, no, this is good. We're making time. This is great.
Like, that's some good
More
work.
screens. But then, you know, as an actor, I was, you know, there was a part of me that was just like, ooh, I wish I had more of a moment, you know, to do something.
Next question. Hey.
What is it like to get the call from the movie producers that you got the part?
Good question.
Such a good question. I haven't been asked a profound, simple question like that in a long time. So thank you very much, young sir. It feels very good. It feels very good to get a call when you've got the part. And when you go through an audition process, the question is always in your face. Your life will either change and things will get better, or it won't. And And sometimes it can be a real bummer. It's such an investment. It's an emotional investment. And as an artist, you know, we don't have a set curriculum. You know, we're not doctors or lawyers. You know, you could be, you know, great one day and then the next day things are not working. So there's an inconsistency that you have to deal with there. But you know, once you book the part, there's a sense of relief. Like you feel good that you've booked something. A company wants to work with you, and then it's the fear of actually having to do the job.
Do you remember what the first thing you did was after you booked Force Awakens? What, like the first song you danced around to or anything?
Oh, I didn't do none of that.
No.
I was stranded in central London. Yeah, JJ asked me to travel to Mayfair, and I was in Catford, which is like an hour away, and I had £75 on my debit card, and I took a black cab. And so I put the card in, and it took all of it, and it went into like a minus. So I got to central London, found out I got the part, and had no way of coming back.
Did you call JJ and like, can I get an advance?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, he for me his money. But I actually had to walk to my manager's office in Tottenham Court Road, and then he got me, give me a little cash. I can get home.
And by
happy though.
And by the time you had sort of been told that you had the part, you were sort of probably aware that you were most likely or close to getting it right. Because wasn't it like a very long period of auditions and conversations and stuff?
Yeah, it was a long period of time, but I heard many things during that process. I know that my screen test, I really flopped on that. Wow. I didn't do well on my screen test. And the reason being is because I didn't tell them that I'd been doing night shoots on 24 the night before. I was filming for 24, the TV series, and I didn't tell them that. And I had my wisdom tooth removed. I didn't tell them that either.
Like sound like the Godfather in it?
We gotta get to the TIE fighter. Right, I was like woozy. I was just coming off the anesthetic, all that stuff, and so. It was whack, but JJ fought for me. He fought for me, and he was just like, you know what? Like I've come across this guy for a good few years, and I'm gonna tell him to come back. And I had one last audition in front of Kathy and the whole, the lords of Star Wars, and I just decided to just go, yeah, you know what? Let me just try and do my best. Yeah.
I think it's time for one more question right here.
Hey.
Hello.
I just wanted to know, as you're a major action star for many people, but especially the younger generation, who were some action stars that you looked up to as you were growing up in action movies?
It's very unique with me because I was very much into theatre for a lot of my young life. I didn't really understand film. I didn't understand how it works. I grew up in a Christian home. So you weren't going to see every single film that came out, and money was a problem too. I'm not spending that type of money going to see no movies. So it would be plays that I would go see and theatre that I was involved in. But after I saw a movie called Kidulthood by Noel Clarke, that absolutely changed my perspective, and I started falling in love with film because that's the first time I saw a black British movie on screen, on the big screen. I was just like, rah, this is crazy.
What's it called?
It's called Kidulthood. And
Kidulthood.
Yeah, it's like a real raw story, and if it wasn't for a movie like that, Attack the Block would have never been made. Yeah. So that's when I started to get into film, and for me it was more like the British stars. Like I loved what Adrian Lester was doing, what Idris Elba was doing, Daniel Kaluuya, all these kind of people, and so that's where my kind of passion came from.
Daniel Kaluuya had a pretty big year last year, right?
That's my boy, man. He done very, very well. Very, very well. But it's mad, because we all know each other. And, the UK scene is smaller, significantly smaller than it is here in the States. And I remember when I saw Daniel Kaluuya on stage doing a play called Sucker Punch. And I waited out for him outside the stage door because I really wanted to talk to him. He lost weight, he looked trim, he was disciplined. And I wanted to talk to him about his work ethic. And he came out, he gave me some advice. And then to see him now.
Do you remember the advice he gave you?
I wanted to know about how he lost the weight and how he was so disciplined, and he had he done a monologue while doing jump rope. He was he was incredible. He was doing double unders while doing this monologue, and I was just like, what are you, bruv? What's wrong? I was shocked by it. But I was around people like Letitia Wright, who's currently in Black Panther. We after we went drama classes, we would meet up in McDonald's in Dalston and talk about what we wanted to do for our futures. And everything she's doing today, she mentioned to me. So when you've experienced that, when you've experienced people kind of take control of their own universes and make it really happen, it really just inspires you. Don't care what Tom Cruise does. It's like, this is the real reality now, from nothing to something. And so,
Is there a part of you that wants to do theater again?
oh, I did.
Oh, you did? Excuse me.
Yeah, I done it after Pacific Rim. Yeah, I did theater again. I done a play called Voice Check at the Old Vic Theatre.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
What was it like going back and doing theater?
It was strange. It was strange. To see the audience was strange to me, because normally the audience to me represent the camera. I look at the camera and go, wow, that's millions of people just right there, right now, represented by this one thing. But to see people just sit down and be like this, all right now, go on, perform. It's a different concept. You're looking and you're like, I got to create this fourth and fifth wall, and I've got to creatively separate myself and live in this reality on stage. I've got to project, and it took me back to how I originally was, and that was just pure theater. I really loved it.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, Pacific Rim Uprising comes out, is it this Friday, right?
It's Friday,
This Friday in theaters everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Like
Come on,
everywhere.
Black Panther, just give us a space, man. You've had enough. We supported you, now,
John Boyega, everybody, let's hear it.
Thank you.